Hey there, I'm Miska and welcome to HitScan. We often get questions about good aim and how to be a better aimer in Valorant. It's a very complicated topic and this video is our first one solely focusing on aiming. But before getting into any specifics, tips and tricks that can help you progress faster, we need to understand what good aim is in Valorant specifically. This video will start with the fundamentals, and I call this part setting yourself up for success. Because when it comes to aim, you have to understand these things to be able to apply your aim knowledge in game properly. Otherwise, things will just be 10 times harder for you when you're actually playing Valorant in a proper match. Let's begin. Valorant is a tactical shooter with heavy focus on horizontal aim, clearing corners, and systematically either locking down or working your way through the map with your team. The way the dynamics of Valorant set you up puts a lot of focus on how to peek corners properly. This is the first part of setting yourself up for success. How to peek. Peeking can be split up into a few different things, but the two main factors are crosser placement and counter strafing. This isn't even so much aim as it is knowledge of how you set yourself up for this peek. Good crosser placement is put together by keeping your crosser at head height, knowing the angle you are about to peek and shoot at, and setting your crosser up accordingly, so when you strafe out for that peek, you will need minimal movement to have your crosser land on your opponent's head hitbox. When your crosser placement is aligned, you will strafe out and counter strafe to stop quickly. Strafing is just moving from left to right with A and D. So in this case, you press the movement key to peek out from the corner you're standing by, and when you've moved out enough, you make yourself stop quickly by pressing the other movement key. In this example, you'll see the movement error of the crosshair, and you can see exactly when we become accurate, so we can shoot and then quickly go back into cover, making for a quick and solid peek. That's it, both attackers and defenders will do this. When you're holding an angle and you're waiting for someone to come around the corner, the dynamics are obviously a bit different, and we'll get into that as well. But deciding when and what to peek, and getting the appropriate information for that, and making sure that you do not peek too many angles at once, is the absolute core of aiming in Valorant. This is when I'll briefly get into isolating angles. When you're peeking a corner in Valorant, it's important to not take on too much at once. You don't have to swing out wide from a corner and take on the entire bomb site all in one go when you're attacking. This is when I'll get into how to pie a corner. This is used in armed forces around the world and police and military training everywhere. And it's the concept of slowly clearing a corner, isolating an angle one at a time. And when viewed from above, this creates a sort of pie shape. If you just give this a Google, you will see that this is used in firearms training in all sorts of places, and the importance of it is definitely prominent in Valorant. You may have noticed how there's so many deep corners and difficult angles to clear, and this is when this can really come in handy to slowly clear a bomb site instead of swinging out wide, exposing yourself to multiple angles at once. This is when we're going to get into why you probably clicked on this video. What happens when you've cleared some of these angles and someone pops out and you quickly need to snap to their head and land a clean headshot? This is what most people think about when they think about aiming. So now that we have the fundamentals down, let's get into how to improve your aim in this area. So we've talked about setting yourself and your aim up for success, but what a lot of people refer to as aim specifically can be broken up into three different things. Perception and cognitive abilities, reacting to what's on screen basically. The macro movement of turning to that objective, and then the micro movement of adjusting your aim to either hit a headshot or just for recoil control. Those three different things of reacting, macro, and then micro movement can only really be trained by doing. This is why it's important to not be afraid to take gunfights in Valorant, because that experience is where you really test your skills and where you really see improvement. Sometimes you're just not really going to get to take part of gunfights though. If you're defending and the attacking team decide to rush a bomb site that you're not at, or maybe there's just an ultimate that sort of takes you out before you can really do much about it. This is where practice outside of just playing comes into play. And there's a few different resources here. We don't have deathmatch yet in Valorant, so we have to make up for that in other ways. It can be good to just play some unrated and try to play more aggressively to get some time on certain weapons or certain parts of the map you haven't really played before. It's a great environment to learn in. The practice range in Valorant also offers a few different options for learning, mostly recoil control, but also any strafing that you might need. But when it comes to just raw aim, there's not loads of different tools there. You do have some bots that you can just shoot at a little bit back and forth. There's two different and pretty simple challenges in there, and they can be alright for figuring out your sensitivity and just generally getting a little bit of warm-up in before a match. But you guys often talk about aim trainers in the comments, and recently we've been seeing some chatter about Aim Lab specifically. If you don't know what an aim trainer is, it's essentially a very advanced practice range that allows for all sorts of different challenges and setups that can help you improve a lot of different parts of your aim. We reached out since we were interested and you guys were interested, and they're actually sponsoring this video, so we'll be referencing them a couple times. Just for relevant exercises, it's free to play and available on Steam, so there's no need to pay anything for this. Just click the link in the description and you'll get straight to their page. With all these different parts of your aim and the tools in mind, let's begin by talking about mastering your field of control. This is a term I've heard be used by a few different people, but most recently for myself, from Counter-Strike Pro Nothing. Basically, it's the zone in front of you from left to right in which you consistently feel in control of your own aim. Any enemy standing outside of that zone will be harder for you to hit, and you'll over or undershoot more of your shots, so you won't be able to recreate those consistent results. Everyone's control zone is different. Mine from Ryan's veteran shooter gamers will have a larger one, whilst newer ones won't be as experienced. And this just comes down to practice. There's no magic formula here. You have to just put in the hours. Great aim really doesn't mean just doing a 180-degree spin and nailing a headshot behind you. It's about making your control zone as consistent and foolproof as absolutely possible. Now, for myself, I put in a lot of hours into Counter-Strike before playing Valorant, so Valorant came a little bit more naturally to me since it is so similar. Before then, I put in a lot of hours in Rainbow Six Siege, and all of that time does help with feeling more comfortable with my way of aiming with my arm and wrist. But I'm still far from perfect and don't even consider myself to be that good of an aimer. I think I'm alright, but I think a lot of my work comes with setting myself up for success to then allow myself to practice my field of control more often. I make the decisions to be able to rotate and get into these situations where I get to practice and get to improve. So if you're playing Valorant, try to stay alive for longer so you do get to do this. That doesn't mean just giving up a bomb site if the enemy is pushing, but it does mean thinking ahead and really creating those opportunities for yourself so you can learn in-game. You're not going to get to do that all the time though, and this is when Aim Lab can really help out. Grid shot, for example, is a great way to just practice general mouse movement and more macro movements for your aim. Reflex shot and six shot as well can really help strengthen your control zone. And it's alright if you don't hit all the shots or if you don't score that well in these different tests initially. Just keep trying them a bit here and there. Don't exhaust yourself though just before you play. This can be a good thing to do just before you go to bed or something like that, after you're done with the session almost. Or maybe just a day when you're not really feeling like playing Valorant, dedicating to a full game that can take upwards of 40 minutes. There are options there. Don't play if you don't really feel like it. If you don't feel like you really want to actually enjoy a game of Valorant, if you're not having fun, it's not worth firing up the game. This goes for any game out there, but especially competitive shooters, because burnout is real, both for ladder players, people playing for fun, and of course pro players. Now let's get into some more specific scenarios in which your aim will help you. First of all, every time you're looking at a specific angle and you're trying to lock down a certain area, crosshair placement is super important. And this is not just because you're gonna perfectly predict exactly where your enemy will be standing, but those really small flicks there will be a lot easier if you don't have to move your crosshair too much. My best tip here for in-game Valorant is if you're aiming at a corner, don't aim too close to it. I see this happen all the time where people are trying to get ready for someone to either pop out from a corner and peek them when they're attacking, or run around a corner when they're defending and an attacker is coming at them. And it's so common to just aim way too close and really overestimate your reflexes there. Reaction time is difficult to train. It takes a long time to get better there. So work with what you've got right now and then try to just gradually improve. I'm not telling you to aim super far out from the corner and just expect that to land you a kill every time. But especially when it comes to those moments with a sheriff where you're just waiting for someone to come around the corner to get a clean headshot. You can't expect yourself to have these godlike reaction times just because you're trying to set yourself up. It takes time. When it comes to the small adjustments you have to do afterwards though, that's something that I think aim trainers are perfect for. Aim Lab can really help you out here with something like micro shot, where you mostly have to move your wrist around to hit the different targets. I wouldn't do too much of this before you play because it can be quite tiring since you don't really have to do this as much when you're in-game in Valorant. But it's also for that reason that you are practicing it so much and getting to do that over and over that it is so good. So working that into like a routine can definitely be worthwhile. I think as well, when you talk about learning aim and such, it's important to be realistic and mention how you won't just hit a headshot every single time. And that's okay. Learning recoil control and such is also really important. And this is something that the Valorant practice range is actually perfect for. When you feel more comfortable with your aim, those macro and micro movements, and just generally moving around, recoil control is super important to practice. The spray patterns in Valorant aren't too difficult to learn, but there is some randomness to them towards the end. The longer you shoot, the more randomness it adds to that pattern. But you can counteract that, and you can see that perfectly in Valorant. If you go into the practice range and you look at the target with that one bot next to it, set it up to maybe 20 meters and just try to spray out a full mag of either a Vandal or a Phantom and just see how you do and how you feel with that. Then you can just set up the main practice range to the standard practice mode and just try to see if you can kill maybe 3, 4, 5 bots with the same spray. Granted, they're all going to be pretty close to each other, but you can still see how you then adjust your aim with the recoil control in mind there. You can take this even further and practice spray transitions, which I think is probably the most worthwhile thing to do in this particular part of the practice range, as you can start on one bot and then just choose one that's quite a bit further left or right but still within your zone of control, and just flick over to them and keep doing that over and over and see how many bullets you need for just a quick little spray transfer. A lot of the time in game in Valorant, you won't actually need to move your mouse too much when you are doing a spray transition, because it will mostly be useful when 1 or 2 enemies are coming around the same corner or at least the same sort of part of the map. But all these other fundamentals that we mentioned will help you in this area too, as you will have to hit these first couple shots on that first target quickly to even have time for the same spray transition. The Valorant practice range is great for this, but if you're struggling with more basic tracking or just flicking to a target, then obviously Aim Lab provides the fundamentals there too and lets you practice those in a way more intense way than you can do in game. In terms of raw aim, muscle memory and ability, there's nothing you can do other than put in the hours. If just playing Valorant and putting in the hours is the main bit of training, then look at Aim Lab as a supplement to that can really help you boost some of your progress there and just speed up learning that little bit extra. And to be honest, it's just nice to have something else to play that's not just Valorant if you're really not feeling it that one evening. Like I already said, it's free to play on Steam. Click the link in the description or top comment or just below the video somewhere, and leave a like if you enjoyed this video as well whilst you're down there. Thank you very much for watching. This is the first type of aim video we've made. We wanted to try and have it be very comprehensive and useful for all types of players. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below and what your favorite Aim Lab routine is as well. There's a lot of custom modes and playlists and stuff that you can find, but all in all, we love seeing community suggestions and what you guys are up to. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.